Hey guys, recently I've been thinking about a concept called imaginary contracts. Imaginary contracts. And this is where it's not a real contract, but it's one that's in your mind. Meaning you're telling the universe or yourself that if I do this, X, then this will happen and I'm deserved this. But it's never spelled out and the other side doesn't necessarily agree with it. So it's not a contract. And this goes back to when I was in business law, for example. If you have a commercial contract, it doesn't even have to be in writing. Let's say if you want someone to mow your lawn, and you say, come over and mow my lawn, and they do so, but that's not really a contract because you haven't specified what they're going to get paid, and this can cause some issues. But if you specify, you mow my lawn, I give you $20, that's a contract, and it's perfectly valid. It doesn't even have to be in writing. Because you have the work done and you have the consideration, that's a contract. And I've thought of this because of various things I've seen recently in my life. And sadly, people get old. And a lot of people in my life are getting older. Well, we're all getting older, but if you have older parents or had friends that have older parents that have died or have had to gone into nursing homes, it is sad because you see them really deteriorate before your eyes. And people don't like to see that. They don't like to think that will be them one day. So they come up with this imaginary contract that, hey, well, these people, even though they're in their late 80s or 90s, they're getting into this sad state. But this is because they didn't keep active. I'm going to keep active. I'm going to keep exercising. I'm going to eat well. I'm going to do these things. And if I do these things, then in your mind, that's an imaginary contract that the universe has to honor that and give you a real healthy life until you just happen to die at 100, right? This is why it's so popular. Everyone has a story. Oh, I know old Joe, he's 98, he can run a marathon. Usually that's bullshit. Usually when you're getting that old, you're decrepit, it's hard for you to move, everything is starting to break down. That's life, that's how it does. And the truth of the matter is all the good stuff you do may not make much of a difference. Now don't get me wrong, it could help a little bit, but it's not a contract with the universe. The universe doesn't have to honor it. You could do your whole life, eat healthy, never smoke, never drink, and then you could be 40 years old and get lung cancer and die. And you can say, but this isn't fair. This is violating this contract. I try to do everything right, but see, the universe doesn't care. It's in your head. It's imaginary. That's the idea of an imaginary contract. And you see it in other things too, politics. There was this singer, I think you guys know him, Oliver Anthony. I guess he played bluegrass, and he wrote this song, bluegrass song, became viral, Richmond, north of Richmond, right? He played it on his guitar or banjo or whatever that is. And he was just lamenting about, I've been selling my soul, working all day, overtime hours for bullshit pay. And he talked about how the government wants to control our lives and they tax us. And meanwhile, they give welfare to people that are 5'3" and 300 pounds. And it just sucks, right? It's a hard life out there. That's a typical country music song. It goes way back. It appeals to people. It appeals to the working class people. Because in life, mostly it's tough. Some people got it easy. They do well financially. Other people, they have to sometimes work 2 jobs. They have to always pay taxes. They have all sorts of this bullshit money to pay. And if they get into like an accident, even if they have insurance, they have all these deductibles. Everything is so expensive. Food's expensive. It's frustrating. It really is. And he wrote a song that kind of tapped into that frustration, a frustration with this society. And it was interesting, the response, because no one really knew him for the most part. He came out of nowhere. But the people on the right, they like, oh, he's our guy. He's our guy. And he never said anything to say that he was our guy, like a right-wing Republican or pro-Trump or anything like that, MAGA. No, he just wrote this song lamenting, how life can be shitty, which is true. That's all it was. But people in our minds, a lot of us, we have this imaginary contract that he was one of us. And then when he turned out to be, frankly, a normie, people ask him about diversity. Oh, I think diversity is our biggest strength or whatever. And he got mad at the Republicans at the convention talking about a song or using a song. Because you say, hey, I'm talking about those bastards, those politicians on stage. And we're like, oh, this guy, he must have been a plant. He was a deep state actor. He was there to fool us. And it's like this imaginary contract that he was somehow on our side when he never said that. He just wrote a song about the hardship of the working man. But in our minds, we have this contract with him, right? Now he's going to be the hero. He's going to show us the way. He's going to fight the evil Washington. And to be fair, he's Anthony, is his name Oliver Anthony? He's got two first names, Oliver Anthony. Then people start saying, oh, well, you're a Democrat then, you support Biden. And he's come out, and there's a story, I think I'll link to it. He said, no, I don't support Biden, he's part of the problem too. And he said, I'm not going to talk about politics anymore. So he's one of those guys that, you know, all the politicians suck, which I kind of agree with to a degree. I mean, I kind of agree with Oliver Anthony. Most of those people on the Republican stage, they're pieces of shit. I don't support them just because they're Republicans. I think the only one on stage there I did support maybe was Vivek. That's it. Everyone else, I agree with him. And the Democrats are shitty people. I mean, there's a few exceptions, like Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has some interesting ideas. But I get the sentiment, right? But a lot of the conservative types now, they're all butthurt on him because he doesn't follow our positions on everything. They, you know, people wanted him to come out and say all the talking points that you would expect someone like Tucker Carlson to say, or MAGA, or whatever. And he says some normie shit because most people are normies. This is how they are. And so we get all mad at him and we get, whoa, he betrayed us. I'm like, well, that was in your mind. That was just in your mind. He never signed up. He never signed his part of the contract with you. That was just your imaginary contract. And I think this is important for us on the right, or really not even the right, just in people in general. You have to understand that there's these imaginary contracts, and just because it's in your mind doesn't make it true. And it's really to act all butthurt about it. It's really a feminine way to go through life. The better way is to say, hey, Oliver Anthony, man, I liked a lot of your lyrics. You're talking about how the government tries to control us, how they waste money on welfare queens, and how they tax the working man to death, and all this. It's hard to make a living in this country anymore. And all this sentiment, all this anger of the situation, I can relate to. A lot of people can relate to, where everything's so expensive. People can't afford health care. It's hard to put food on the table. It's just, you know, we're getting this divide between the super rich and the poor. The middle class seems to be disappearing. And he tapped into that. But that doesn't mean he's some politician or he's now supports Republicans or anything like that. And because of that, then people just get all mad at him and butthurt about it, which is stupid, right? It was an imaginary contract. So don't be that guy. I like the song. Oliver Anthony, he put a song together. It kind of related. I can relate to a lot of the lyrics. It's really a Southern feel. It's expression and emotion. That's all it is. And don't try to get too involved with it that somehow he represents us. You got to be your own hero. You got to quit looking for people that because they happen to write a ditty or a song that you like, that somehow they represent you and you're now your hero. That's not how it works, right? People do this with actors and songwriters, and for the most part, I don't want to offend any actor or songwriter or those type of people, but most of those type of celebrities are really dumb shits. And I don't mean that meanly. I'm saying that kindly. I don't mean that insulting, but they're dumb shits and they don't really understand much. And they're kind of creative in their field. If you ever see like celebrities on Twitter or X or whatever it is, I mean, they're really stupid. I didn't realize how stupid. And so you really shouldn't look to these people as someone like your mentor, someone that you admire. You can admire their work, but as people, they're flawed. And don't get all butthurt because of some imaginary contract you had in your head. Talk to you guys later. Oh, guys, and if you want to see more of my videos, like every other day now, I do a public video, and then I have a private video, which is a Gumroad supporters. You can just subscribe to my Gumroad, or you can subscribe to me on Twitter. That's another way to get it, or Substack. Talk to you guys later.